I'm telling you, the stuff that I have found back there is ridiculous. From TP structures, tracks, a possible interdimensional portal. There's no way these things are just isolated, and that changed my view on where they came from. Like these things got to be interdimensional after witnessing that take place. It just to this day, I'm like, what the heck?
Hey, Scott, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being
Hey,
Can you
here.
what's
hear us
going
okay,
on?
Scott? Good,
Everything sounds great.
good.
Scott, as you know, we have West Virginia Jennifer here and her husband, West Virginia Dave, to hang out with
Excellent.
us as our Patreon members. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. And they're going to hear being a little bit of co-host with us, talking to you tonight about your encounter and experiences. So appreciate
Awesome.
you allowing that, and thank you again for being here tonight, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
I know we had been talking a while back. You had some interesting things going on there, and what you said, Monroe, Michigan, right?
Yep. I'm about like 15 miles from Toledo, Ohio, right on the border.
Okay. Are you kind of in a wooded area or
Honestly, man, I am. It's a hiking area, but this is more of an urban environment where I live. And that's why I started the Facebook group Urban Bigfoot, because everybody seems to think these things got to be way out in an isolated location. I'm telling you, the stuff that I have found back there is ridiculous. From TP structures, tracks, a possible interdimensional portal, which I have the video. I can honestly send you all that stuff if you would
Wow.
like. And I'm
Okay.
just like, okay, that changed for me. I'm like, at this point, man, there's no way these things are just isolated. And that changed my view on where they came from. Like, these things got to be interdimensional after witnessing that take place. It just, and to this day, I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right.
Well, why don't you start at the beginning, the first thing that you experienced, what happened to you, and just dive into it.
Okay. Like, I've lived here since about 2011, and that's just a nice, peaceful place to hike. You know, being kind of in the Metro Detroit area, it's a little, kind of loud and obnoxious here sometimes. And it's just kind of eerie back there. It's kind of stepping back into a different world, kind of separated from the city a little bit, more or less. And I always had a hunch that I was kind of like being followed. Never thought much of it. One day I'm out there and I hear this loud like grunt, just a loud grunt. I'm like, okay, we're in an urban area. The likelihood of it being a bear or something, slim to none, unless we had any zoo trains or something crash anytime at that point. So I thought nothing of it, whatever, I'll just keep on going. And that's when I pretty much got followed. Now, I didn't feel bad about it. Like, it didn't feel threatened. I felt like, okay, we're going to kind of feel you out. This is our turf. What's up? Because I personally believe you can bond with these things as long as if you keep on going back to the same place over and over, you will establish a relationship with a Sasquatch. And there's probably at least 5 or 6 back there. I could take any one of you guys out there and you would probably have an experience. And that's literally where it's at.
Okay, well, go ahead and
All right.
tell us what was going on then. Tell us what you got involved with and what you saw and everything.
And then, after that, we got back to the car, me and my buddy, and I'm like, all right, man, what I'm not sure what that could be. So we didn't think anything of it, but I thought, all right, there's some weird TP structures and stuff like I had mentioned before. And we come back the next day, and that's when I have all the tracks. And I can send you all those tracks. So we were being followed, and it was dark enough to where like you couldn't see the ground. But if you were to go back the next day, because it had rained like the day prior, just fresh tracks, different sizes, different widths, everything. I wasn't expecting to find those, so obviously I didn't have anything to cast them with. So I just have the
So,
photos.
so do you think all 5 or 6 were following you that first day, or just one or two of them, or?
I don't think all of them. I think that we have like day watchers and stuff like that, like a scout. I think they were kind of
Mhm,
out doing the work, kind of feeling it out, like, okay, this guy's good. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And then based on the different size tracks, it's got to be 5 or 6. You feel 4 or 5
Okay.
foot strides in between these tracks. I mean, I'm 5'9" when 5'10" when my back doesn't hurt, and I don't even have a stride like that. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. There's no mid tarsal break, so obviously, obviously when we walk, we stop about here. When you're
Mm.
flat footed and you have like no arch, they're picking it up all the way at like a 90. So these are just flat in the mud, 2 3 inch deep tracks. I couldn't mimic that jumping. And I don't think anybody's walking back there with their dog during tick season after a storm. You know what I mean? The likelihood is just not there.
Yeah, especially not barefoot.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm all for earthing and natural stuff, man, but come on,
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Now I just kind of I got obsessed after that. I've always been a believer, growing up in northern Michigan. That's, West Branch is the unofficial capital, Bigfoot capital of the state of Michigan. And I grew up in Mayo, the backwaters. I mean, the things you hear late at night that is just moving across the stream. And I was little at the time. So it's like, now looking back, dude, I had encounters before I knew they were encounters. And I think Bigfoot choose to see you. I don't think people walk up and say, "Hey, I found a sleeping Bigfoot." No, if you see a Bigfoot, it's cool with it. It wants to be seen.
Okay. So you had gone back that second day. I interrupted your story.
Oh,
So
you're okay. No worries. And we'd gone back the second day, found the tracks, and we're looking at these tracks because there's like dog prints next to it. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe somebody's walking a big dog out there. But then you have another set of tracks in front of that are slightly bigger and like different toe pads and different like toe lengths. So it's clearly not the same foot stroke. So I think that these things are basically like bonding with the coyotes or something. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a phenomena where animals that normally would fight each other kind of like team up at nighttime, like a comfort thing. So I'm thinking maybe that Bigfoot had like a coyote or something with him that night. So I'm thinking, okay, we have these tracks, and then you get about a mile down, and suddenly it just goes off into the brush. They just go off the path, and there's nothing but game trails and stuff back there. So as far as hunting and having you know, enough to survive something of that size and stature, it's basically a game preserve back there. You can't hunt back there. It's an ideal location for something to exist and hide in plain sight. Because let's face it, if something doesn't believe you exist, it's going to be real easy to hide.
yeah.
And after that, man, it's just now I go out there, there'll be a tree knock, there'll be a grunt. I have actually found a little pink bow on a little clip about 8 or 9 feet off the ground. And it's rusty. So I'm like, it's been out here a while. I'm thinking maybe it's gifting, could be gifting. So I took it I always talk to them, let them know, hey, what's going on? I'm out here. You guys know me. I'm just going for a walk, And I took the clip, went back up the trail, clipped it on another branch. And I took this old expired debit card that I had and I left it in the place. It was really shiny. And I left it where that was. And when I came back, that was gone. And they had the pink bow back on the same tree that I had taken off the day prior. And I'm like, okay, it could be somebody back there, maybe, but I don't see it.
Was there anything unusual about the coyote tracks? Were they unusually large or just about average for a coyote?
I would honestly say they were unusually large. I mean, coyotes don't have very, very big paws at all. This, I would say somebody had like a Great Dane back there or something like that would be how big those were. But the fact that they're right alongside the bear prints, you know what I mean? It's like, is Bigfoot got a pet dog? Maybe they make pets with the coyotes. Who knows? And I've been, like I said, I'm a believer my entire life, but now it's like, dude, now I'm a knower. The rabbit hole changes. It goes from this has got to be real to it's no longer is Bigfoot real. We know that. What is he? What is it? And now it's just a tunnel that you just keep on digging. And, I really hope we're coming to total disclosure here pretty soon with this stuff. I mean, we got the UAP disclosure going on, so I'm really hoping we get Sasquatch disclosure as well. I mean, you guys saw that Army map, right? Where Sasquatch is identified on a map in the mountains on a U.S. Army map as a creature to watch out for if you were to have to survive out there. The government's acknowledging its existence without telling us it's real,
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I hadn't seen that. I'll have to Google that.
It's fascinating, man. Definitely check it out.
I think it's up to us to come forward and encourage other people, because I'm sure some people have some good pictures. They might be hiding these, thinking they're helping the animals out or if they're even human. But I think we would help them out more if we could first prove their existence. And then, that would be better for them.
I think the problem with proving the existence is, though, everybody's like, oh, science has to have a body. I mean, I get it as far as that. If we're going to go cut and dry with it, yeah, we'd have to have a specimen for mainstream science to be like, yeah, this thing's real. Because people can't have a really hard time accepting that things outside that little 3 feet in front of them are real. You know, they have a real hard time with it. And a lot of people, if the picture's too clear, it's fake, right? And if the picture's blurry, guess what? It's also fake. So what's going to make you happy? It's at that point, it's going to have to be a specimen. I mean, I personally think we have DNA and stuff, and we're just not. The government's just not releasing it, just like tons of other stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely in the basement of the Smithsonian. I
For
bet
sure.
quite a few bodies, actually.
Or the Vatican archives. It could be down there, too.
Yeah. Well, after Mount St. Helens, apparently a lot of them were killed, and they went and collected them. I've heard that.
Now, I saw that, too, but one of the lesser-known aspects of that story is there was a survivor. They had taken a surviving juvenile into custody. It was burned badly, but they had, rendered first aid on it and took it into custody. Obviously, nobody ever heard anything after that. But, where's it at? A lab? I mean, I personally think these things are biblical in nature. I think they're connected to, like, the Nephilim. So I think that they have really long lifespans. So if the government has them, it's obviously probably not dead, and it's probably choosing to remain captive in the first place. Maybe these things want to come forward. Maybe they want to talk to us.
So you think you're in the camp that they're more human versus like an ape?
Yes. To me, I mean, you go to the zoo, you look at a great ape. Sometimes they get pissed that you're there. I mean, I don't see a great ape hiding out for thousands or even hundreds or thousands of years without being like, hey, what are y'all doing in my territory? I think that if it was just an ape or some sort of primate, we would have already discovered it by now. There's no way. It's a primitive race of humans. I think it's a flesh and blood species with supernatural abilities. That's where I stand with it.
Yeah, on the supernatural abilities, you mentioned at the beginning about seeing a portal with them. I'd be really interested in hearing how you came to see that and what it was like.
Yes, sir. It was about 10:30 at night, and we were about to do the normal walk down the trail that we always do, where all this stuff tends to happen. But as you look straight down the path, there's like a tunnel of trees where they just keep the trail clear, and I'm just zooming down there, just having fun. Maybe I can catch some stuff, and I like to go over my evidence later. Your camera's going to catch what your naked eye can't, obviously. And I'm zooming down there, and all of a sudden, this bright orb, like solid ball, just starts to hover there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, as a researcher, we got to debunk first. I can't just jump with, hey, this is a portal. It could be some sort of chemical interaction. There's natural gas lines out there, whatever. And then it started to grow. I'm recording this from about half mile away on full zoom with my iPhone 12, and it's still massive. Now, based on those numbers, I would say that thing had to have been 20 feet across had I been right up on it. And it just sits there and hovers. And if you zoom in and go in frame by frame on the video, you will see stuff coming out of this portal. And I'm like, okay, it's bipedal. It's on 2 legs. It has hunched over shoulders. Okay, I'm thinking this completely kills my original theory on what I thought Bigfoot was. Because when I started researching years and years ago, I bought the whole great ape theory, land bridge theory, Gigantopithecus, stuff like that. I bought into the normal stuff. But that portal, I can't go back. Now I can only go forward with it. So, Ron Moorhead, when he wrote the Quantum Bigfoot book, that's absolutely mind-blowing. And one of the, major legends that we have in that field. So that's what I think. Primitive species. Perhaps a descendant of Cain, something like that. Maybe the curse of Cain is Bigfoot. I mean, I've looked up biblical scripture on that. So I'm thinking if that's the case, and God cursed you to wander the earth for what you did, maybe that's why we're not finding a body. Obviously, these things can breed. So we have a native population here that might have all started with one that went wayward, 1,000 years ago. So, I mean, we don't know. I just try to buy into what makes sense to me that I'm comfortable with based off my research and my own findings. But I'm open to anything. None of us know. None of us are Bigfoot experts. We can't be an expert on something that we don't even officially have DNA cataloged on.
I'm just curious, what color was the orb?
The orb was solid white, like above,
Mhm.
like right here where it says you are live, that exact white, like mid brightness on a phone, just just glowing there, hovering. I was too far away to hear, but it almost looks like in the video that it's like vibrating. So I'm thinking that if I were closer, you do hear of people having portals and they can actually like hear them hum and stuff. I think it probably would have had some sort of sound had I been closer. But like I said, I was zoomed in a quarter or a half mile away, and this thing is still massive. I was not expecting to see that.
Yeah. Now, is that you said you had an urban Bigfoot group? Is
Yes,
that
that's available on Facebook.
Facebook? So is that a portal video on your Facebook group?
Yes. So actually,
Cool.
right now, the cover photo for the group is some of the footprints.
Oh, okay.
Some of my footprint tracks, just kind of like lure people in a little bit. And yeah, you can find the portal video on there as well.
And what's the name of the group?
Urban Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that, while we have a sparse amount of cases that claimed of people having Sasquatch in urban areas, it just doesn't get considered. And now that I'm having it out here in a major metro area, I'm thinking that we're coming to a point where like the veil is thinning, so to speak, and there's just no hiding anymore. These things they can't cover it. These things are going to confess their existence on their own at this point. I mean, look all around, all this strange stuff going on, Sasquatch is just another part of that.
I wonder how much the Canadian fires over the last couple of years, the massive wildfires, might be driving some of them down from the Canadian wildernesses into the U.S. and urban areas.
I honestly believe that too. I could see that. I mean, these things, but then again, if they're interdimensional, maybe they could just, glitch out of there and go wherever it is that they want to go to safety. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily be trapped because they have the ability to just kind of, snap out of there. That's what I believe. I'm not, not trying to push anything. It's all opinion and conjecture, but why would they stay if they didn't have the ability to? Unless maybe Bigfoot's, some have powers and some don't. Maybe there's like multiple groups. Maybe you haven't earned your stripes yet, so we'll get there. Because I mean, you'll see mini tree structures. I think they're training their kids. I think they're teaching them at a young age how to make these tree structures. And I don't think there's so much for habitation, but more for symbolism and directions like, hey, come over here. This is where food is. They're territory markers.
Maybe they're coming from another dimension into ours, and this is kind of the wilderness training Boy Scout, Girl Scout camps where, we're going to teach you these things here, because where they're at doesn't have this.
Sir, I never thought of that. That's a phenomenal thought. I've never once considered that. Like maybe choose the smaller wooded areas first. Let's train the Boy Scouts before we go to the Marines. That's more or less what you're saying.
Is there any evidence of deer kill or?
Yes, there are several skulls out there. I found antlers that looked like they were chewed off. That's the skull, almost like just snapped off. There's fragments of skull actually on those antlers. You can find those photos on the page too. Now, I'm not saying that a coyote couldn't have chewed on them, but I just find it kind of weird that we're finding it in the same spot where this territory is. And the deer skull was set on top of like a sapling, 7 or 8 feet off the ground. What's the standard Sasquatch height? 7 or 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fact that part of the skull still attached to the antler, that's a powerful creature.
Definitely, and it wasn't a very big deer. It would have been a smaller buck. It was about a 4-point.
And the squirrels and stuff, they really like to eat antlers and stuff. So I mean, that had to have been a fairly fresh, discovery.
Absolutely. And it just so happens that I found those deer antlers and that skull at the same area where the portal was. So I'm thinking, okay, is this like you guys are kind of coming into where maybe the game trail intersects? So let's just go ahead and kind of glitch in or blip in, whatever you want to call it here, because we know that's where the deer are going to be. Right next to that, to the west, is a cornfield, and the river's right there as well. And now if you go to the east, it's more woods and private property connected to the hiking trails. And obviously, Bigfoot's not going to listen to no trespassing sign, so that's not going to be a problem.
Probably can't read English anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know what language they speak, but I do believe they speak a language. I think that Ron Moorhead's 1971 Sierra Sounds is one of the best documented audible pieces of evidence possibly we will ever have. Visual, I think Paul Freeman takes the cake. Paul Freeman takes the cake for visual, in my opinion. And I think that the other one they take the audio would be Sierra Sounds. I mean, we get it. We got the Patty films, great. I love it. It's phenomenal. But when you move on to 1994, when you come to the Paul Freeman footage, that Bigfoot wasn't looking to leave at a hasty pace. That Bigfoot was kind of like, yeah, check me out. Okay, fine. And that's a great foot. And he wasn't expecting to find that either. Some of the best footage were people who weren't looking.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So you've got a water source there, and you have agriculture and deer. That's perfect location.
And the river runs to the west for like probably 50 miles. So they also have a good travel pathway that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to use the waterways for sure.
Now, do you think that they, I don't know how best to say this, kind of associate to certain people, prefer certain people? Because like you've said, when you've walked through, you talk to them, you'll hear knock stuff. You mentioned how as a kid you had squatch noise and presence, not knowing what it was. Do you think they kind of find favorite people?
I do. I think that they judge the character of everyone that's out there, and if they even sense a little bit of hesitation, they're not going to show themselves to you. But there's also a flip side to that. You hear cases of Bigfoot not wanting people around and doing bluff charges and all that kind of stuff to get them out of their territory. But I do think that if you have one encounter, you're lucky enough because the Bigfoot wanted to be seen. If you have more than one, you were chosen to be in this field.
I think they're looking for safe people.
Yes.
I think if you were carrying a gun, they could smell the gunpowder and they'd know, it was more dangerous.
They know when you're getting out of the car. They know that I'm walking up before I even get to the trailhead. Oh, hey, Scott's coming. This is fantastic. And I go out there and I'm like, hey, if you guys want to give us some evidence, let's go. Because I always take my buddy with me too. I've done a few 2 or 3 a.m. hikes by myself out there, and it's a different time, man. It's a different time.
They probably have better hearing and they can smell better than human.
Yeah. I was thinking smell is probably something they do a lot better than we do. I was thinking how dogs will kind of know. You can watch a dog and kind of know as they approach a person whether that's the dog thinks that's a safe person or not. And I think it's somewhere in the scent that we give off and pheromones and things like that.
For sure. And I mean, how many people believe that we need a body to prove that it's real? So Bigfoot kind of has to assume that a decent amount of the people coming out there that actually want to find him, they're not looking to bring him in alive or have a tea party. You know what I mean? They're looking to bring in a body. And I think that tends to cause them to retaliate with aggressive acts sometimes, or to just be like, whatever, they're not even worth my time. I'm just going to go away for a while. And once they leave, I'll come back.
Yeah, well, if you were hunting me, I'd probably, not take to making that real happy with me and trying to do the same thing.
You're going to be a hard target, obviously.
But if they were apes, they would be hidden very, very deep in the woods. They'd never show themselves. And, I think because they're probably our cousins, they're so much closer, down the genetic line, that they feel more comfortable and they're curious of us.
I think that too. And like I said, I think that if you continue to go to the same area where you have activity and you go there repeatedly, we're bonding. Okay, he's been out here, he's been out here a few months going for walks and, kind of communicating, doing some wood knocking and all that kind of stuff. Let's give him a chance. He hasn't seemed to try to hurt us or, ruin the woods or anything like that. So I think I'm establishing a relationship with them in my own way. And I'm going to do the apples. Apparently they really like apples. So I'm going to take some apples out and put them in some incredibly difficult spots, for a normal animal to get to and see what kind of action I get. I just ordered a couple trail cams too, so we're gonna put those out there and see. I think trail cams are 50-50. I think they sense infrared. So if you catch one on trail cam, hey, cool. They know it's there. They wanted to be seen, but I don't think that we can be able to find a Bigfoot or observe one through means if they don't want to be observed. There's no way to do it without them knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, they come by and grab the apples in daylight, so the infrared light's not, shining. If you can see an infrared, then it looks like a nice spotlight right there in front of the camera. So
I'm gonna do 2 separate ones. I think I'm just gonna take the apples, don't put up any hardware, no cameras, nothing. Then go out and check the site the next day, and then I'm gonna do another one with the trail cameras in the same spot where I did the first time, and maybe hey, if they know it's there now, clearly, they took the apples. Maybe in exchange for the apples, they'll let me get some footage. I'm thinking it's a bargaining chip kind of thing with them. You
no,
scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
no, that makes sense.
I just think people are too quick to look at them from a sinister standpoint a lot of the times. Like it's 10 feet tall, it's 800 pounds, it's got an 18-inch track. Yeah, that sounds pretty intimidating, but I think that they want to be understood, and I think they don't want to be judged for possibly some of the ones that have had bad actions in the past, like the 1924 Ape Canyon incident. That's one of my favorite stories to read about, when the gold miners were attacked during the night by ape-like creatures throwing rocks at the cabin. Like, I think they wanted to be left alone. They didn't want to hurt them. They just wanted to make a point and get them out of the way.
Yeah.
So Scott, do you just stick to that side of Michigan, or have you gone up north farther? Have you?
I've gone to the Huron National Forest a couple times, right up in Mayo. They actually found a thumb in there, a large thumb, and they sent it in for DNA testing. So maybe we'll get lucky and find something. But it's still pretty wild up there. There's still a lot of untamed wilderness up there. I think that that's where a lot of them are retreating to, because all of this, what is it? I'm trying to think of the word. Industrialization. We're wiping out entire forests to put up, hotels and stuff. We're running out of places to hide. And up there is still pretty protected. So I think a lot of them are there. The ones that are here are just kind of choosing to be around because they've adapted to the setting and everything that's going on.
Well, where you are, that's pretty quick to, from Michigan to Ohio, so that you probably got a highway going south too.
Yes, I-75 is right there. And I've actually done a little bit of research in Ohio as well. Hocking Hills State Park, beautiful, and it is a Sasquatch hotspot.
Oh yeah.
Salt Fork State Park, that's on the agenda for this summer to go check out.
Yeah, we'll be at a show there. Let's see, the first weekend of May,
Nice,
first Saturday weekend of May. So if any of you guys can make it,
this is the official invite.
Yeah, that's a good show. That's a good
come
conference.
come hang out with us, Jennifer, Dave. You guys aren't too far from there, I don't think, are you? Maybe. Let's see, you're talking Eastern Ohio, so maybe not too far away.
I'm like 4 or 5 hours. I mean, that's where I went to Athens to do some research, and Athens is about 20 miles from Hocking Hills. So it's like 4.5, 5 hours for me. And dude, it's Bigfoot related. I'm going. It doesn't matter the drive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about your location, Mio and Huron National Forest in that area, I took my wife and son up there a few years back after Brian and I started this podcast, because I was Googling where are the biggest Bigfoot sightings at in Michigan. And actually, that's where the most happen at. Or have been recorded anyway. I'll say that much. I do tend to think it's the other side in the Manistee National Forest, and I like to go there better. But that is a hot spot too. But where you're at, there's a little area toward the thumb that would be running up toward the thumb, toward Detroit. And we hear a lot of encounters in that area, outside of that area, really actually close to suburbs of Detroit. But there's a little wilderness area where you're at, where you're talking about. That
is it Belle
there's
Isle?
a lot. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
But where you're at, kind of close to down toward Toledo too, there's some wilderness area there too. And there's a lot of activity going on there. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff going on there. If you listen to podcasts and different encounters, I was in this area. I was over here by, Detroit, north of Detroit, east or west of Detroit. I'm like, what the heck? Why do these guys? You were talking earlier about them being, more kind of in
Sorry,
the
we got a little
suburbs.
photo bomb. I apologize.
Oh, you're
We got
good. What do you got there? Is that that's a
this
big
is
cat.
this is a Maine Coon.
I
Yep.
thought that's what that was. Okay,
Yep.
that's not full grown, is it?
No, he's about 1.5, and he's got about another year and a half of
Yeah.
growing to do.
I
And
love those cats.
he's 16 pounds right now, and the doc said he's going to get up to be like 33. And I'm like, dude, I need to take him squatching with me. That's going to be my guard cat.
Well, people are gonna think it's a bobcat with long hair. Is what's gonna happen. Yeah,
And he
those are
doesn't have
cool
a
cats.
tail. He's a rescue. When we got him, his tail was broken completely like off. It was just the cartilage, just the fur and skin
That's
holding it
terrible,
on.
man.
So they had to amputate. So he's just got this little like barb. And when the fur came in, it's like a Queen Anne's lace flower now. Just complete like it's just like a flower. So when he runs away, it's like a bunny hopping away. I love that cat. There you go.
Yeah.
So he always pops in on whenever I do like a podcast.
No, all good, man.
There's always a cat or something pops in.
No, I love animals.
Me too.
We're actually getting a new dog tomorrow. So,
Oh, what kind of dog?
French bulldog, actually.
Oh.
This gal had her that I worked with, and she just she's been trying to sell her, but she wants to go to a really good home, and she doesn't trust a lot of people. So we're gonna get her at a lower price and just take care of her and love her like we do animals. But
You're gonna have to bring her on the. You're gonna have to bring her on the show.
I'll post some pictures on our Facebook page.
That'd
Maybe
be awesome.
we'll see. Yeah.
It depends. You got to see if she's photogenic or not. And if it's a Frenchie, come on, man, you know what it is.
No,
Yeah, she's got one blue eye and one brown eye, so it's kind of different, but kind of cool. But anyway,
I love it.
you were talking about the deer kill thing though too.
Yes.
I just want you to know that Jennifer and Dave, we were talking to them a while back, and actually a couple of days ago, you guys found, what was it, a skull and spine, or a spine with? I can't.
Yeah, can't hear you, Jennifer. It was just the spine was over an old barbed wire fence. I don't remember the skull being on it.
But just a deer spine was just on a fence, just hanging there, right?
Yeah.
Still can't hear you, Jennifer. I don't know what she's got. Is she muted on her computer?
No.
Infrasound. She's got a squatch. It's infrasound. He's interfering
Try-
with
try
the
to-
electronics.
Put
Right.
the earbuds back in the case and then take them back out.
Yeah, you might have to.
See,
I'll
that's
cut
why I'm
this
going old school. I'm going with the old school ones. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's got the cans on, so he's really rocking.
I
old
got
school.
But no, so you found like this spine, like hanging over a fence or something. You were saying?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was still had meat kind of hanging on it. It wasn't fully consumed or anything, and it was just hanging on this barbed wire fence that between us and our neighbors. We had 44 acres of property. It was the posts were old and rotting out. The barbed wire was half rusty and could break easily. But there was this, deer spine that was, devoid of all. It still had bits of meat, but it was pretty much well stripped, just hanging over the top of this fence.
And maybe the Squatch wants to make a statement? I mean, why would you drape it over the fence? That interests me. I mean, if it were any other predatory mammal, it would just drag it away, leave it, whatever. To physically drape it over the fence completely changes the game a little bit,
Yeah, no, we weren't really Squatch believers at the time, so we didn't think about that. Since after that, we've learned more and more about Sasquatch, and so we've come to appreciate things more. But it was there was a creek that ran right on our side of the fence. It was kind of an intermittent creek, it was worked more when it rained. But we have figured out now that we probably saw like 4, 5, 6 Squatch that had looked at us one night from there, because of the eye shine. It wasn't deer or anything else. We all, at the time we went, guess it's deer
Wow.
sitting down there. But doing eye shine stuff, it didn't work.
That is crazy. But I mean, that is so cool to say, hey, we saw 5 or 6 Sasquatch looking back at us. Like, that's crazy. And you guys are kind of like converts. You're going from not having much interest or cared one way or another to holy crap, we had an experience, and now you're down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which I don't think she's still working.
I
It
still
looks
can't
like.
hear you. Hold on.
Still,
Well, if you listen to episode 118 of ours, it's called the Night the Terror Began, and that's when we had Jennifer and Dave on to talk about their encounter in West Virginia. And basically, the story was that they lived in this property on West Virginia, which is a beautiful area. They sent us some pictures. If they'll allow us, we'll put it on Facebook and out there on our website. But there was a barn way up on a hill, just an old shack kind of barn that sat way up on a hill that overlooked all the property, and it was part of their their barn. And their neighbor had asked them, "Can I, if you guys aren't using that barn when they bought it?" Jennifer, can you hear us? No, I can't hear you still.
still no sound.
Do you guys check your mute button on? I'll edit
She's
this out.
she's not muted.
Okay. Basically, what happened was this barn was abandoned way up on this hill. No one had been there up there for years. And when the neighbor wanted to buy it or tear it down and take it, they said, "Yeah, sure, take it down." So he tore it down, and they went up there, and there was a bunch of these big holes dug with inside this barn, and they said it was big enough for a cow to lay in. And
Holy crap.
yeah, so the guy takes the barn down, and that's when they said that was the night the terror started. They were getting their house banged on and just screaming, yelling. They heard the chatter sound, the Sierra sound, the talking. So if you haven't yet, check out episode 118,
Absolutely.
and you can hear about their encounter. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, definitely
That's a
crazy.
good one. Yeah.
Dave, are you with
Anytime it
us?
gets physical like
Jennifer,
that,
why
I'm
don't
like,
you
I'm in.
go all the way out and come back in?
Dave, are
like
you with us?
Like you did last time.
I can't hear you, Dave. I can't hear you either. Don't know what happened, you guys.
And then there were 3.
We'll make this work one way or the other. I can edit it. I'll edit all this to make it sound great.
For sure.
One way or the other.
I will. I'm going to leave the raw video.
Well, that's what Brian does. I mean, that's why people like to watch that, because they get the background. See, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can see the benefit of that, though. Like, it's just that raw, organic,
Mhm.
you see it when we see it sort of vibe, and we're not trying to polish
And they
and
actually
refine it. I could see that.
See how a podcast runs, and it's not
Yeah.
always perfect.
For the audio part, if people are driving, they don't want to hear people chattering about this. They just want to hear the story and But so that's why we kind of do that.
Okay, I'm back.
There we go.
I
All
can
right,
hear
now
you
we
now.
got this.
Yeah, sorry.
Back in business.
Dave,
The real weird thing about that story is they came down on the hour and harassed me, and I thought they were coyotes. And we had just moved to West Virginia. I think we were there about a year when this happened. And, we were from Washington, D.C. We didn't know a whole lot about wild animals. And I just assumed they were coyotes, but I didn't see them. And they came down on the hour and just howled and harassed me. I could hear about at least 5 or 6 distinctive voices. And the thing that was so perplexing about that is, animals don't take revenge. I don't think there's any examples of that. Something man does. So, but they did it until.
I got a story about a tiger that tracked down a hunter.
Yeah, well, it's different with a predator. But,
yeah.
I mean, how'd they know? I sent you pictures of the house. I think the house had 19 windows. It was a really large home. I mean, how did they know which window my bedroom was? It's strange. And I had my window open all night, but unless I was snoring that loud, I don't know, possible. But it was just strange. It wasn't the type of behavior that I would think a wild animal would do.
Like
But
they were
of course,
trying to get your attention. Like, hey, we're trying to get you to leave, kind of. That's probably what they were doing.
well, the strange thing is the neighbor took the barn down in sections so he could just put it right back on his property. And I would think they would go over to his property and complain, but they seem to know that I was the owner of the barn. So, it's just real
Interesting.
strange. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's human behavior, not an animal.
Yeah, I mean that shows more of deliberate intelligence to
Yeah.
know to pay attention to rather than like it's just a typical shelter. It's more about who owns it, not what it is. That's they're there for you. That's kind of cool.
And the barn was way up on this hill. It was real strategically placed, so they could kind of, from that position, they could look out and see, the entire holler. And I took their shelter down. So it had like 3 sides to it, and then the front of it was just gates, and they were using it for like a hay barn. But and again, there were several just huge ruts, ruts that were large enough to, put a cow in. And, a groundhog isn't going to dig down that deep.
Unless he's going for that mansion type dig, you know what I mean? Maybe he wants to.
Yeah. But we lived there 11 years, and it was just a series of things that happened. And I never really put it together until I read the Appalachian Bigfoot book. I think it's Russ Jones that wrote that. It's a very good book. He also did a book called The Stone Man. And I just didn't realize there was so much activity on the East Coast. I thought it was more of a West Coast thing. So,
I believe it is. There has been documented reports of Sasquatch in every state except for Hawaii, if I'm not correct. But there's like a 50,000 acre unexplored rainforest or something there that they're trying to get in. So maybe there's something there. I just find it weird how we have cases except for Hawaii. Maybe the water is some sort of, reason why they don't have it, or maybe it's, I don't know. That one just finds me intriguing. 49 out of 50 states have many hundreds, even thousands of reports, and Hawaii's got nothing.
yeah, but it's like all around the world too. It isn't just an American thing.
Well, I mean, that's not really hard to believe in Hawaii. How are they going to get there? Swim?
I mean, I've heard they're decent swimmers, but
Hawaii
you're going
does
to have to
have
go
their-
somewhere for that.
Hawaii
Maybe-
is not without cryptids, though. They have
No.
They have
Yeah,
their
there's
own-
got to be something there, but I can understand why that there's not Bigfoot creatures have been seen there, on the islands, only because Alaska, Russia, if there was a bridge there, all that kind of stuff, the continent, they've traveled like humans have, right? They've migrated, but Hawaii's gotta get tough to get to. Now, how did people start on Hawaii? Where did the natives come from on the Hawaii islands? I don't know. I mean, at one point maybe they just traveled there from somewhere else and found
maybe
it
Hawaii's a cryptid.
years ago.
The state's
I don't
a
think
cryptid.
Bigfoot are smart enough to buy a boat.
Come on.
You're talking about a whole new subject. You're talking about the statues
we're getting that's
buried
another
up to
show.
the neck. Those statues buried
That's
up to the
another
necks.
show.
Those what?
Yeah, we're getting
How
off
did
track
that
here.
happen? And
You're going with Easter Island. Are we going in the Easter Island direction?
that's what we started.
Oh,
bringing
okay.
up.
All right, I'll shut up, 'cause I
That's
can't-
another
With
show,
Hawaii,
but
but
we're
that's a
happy
whole
to
other
talk
show,
about
so.
that with everybody and you guys again. So
That's its own show.
right on.
Right.
I just want to ask you, Scott, what are your thoughts about Dogman? You're a Michigan guy.
Dude, I am fascinated by Dogman. I actually have a possible picture of one from my research site. I think,
Really?
yeah, like I said, you can see all that on my Facebook page. I think Dogmen, I think there's werewolves and there's Dogmen. I think werewolves are more of your skinwalker, demonic, more sorcery type things. And I think Dogmen are more assets. I think Dogman is a more government oriented thing. I think that it was probably some sort of large breed of wolf that we had way back in the day before Steve Cook made the Dogman song in Traverse City. Like, he made that out of fun on Halloween, and then all of a sudden reports just started flowing in, and Dogman it's very popular around here as well. People talk about it all the time. We have Dogman cutouts and Sasquatch cutouts in the same properties around here. I think it's
Huh.
real, but I don't know enough about it to really go in detail because
Right.
that's more where Sasquatch lies for me. But I'm interested in it, and we do have some areas where there's been sightings, so I'm looking to dabble a bit more in Dogman. I just need to get a bit more informed on the subject before I go stepping into that territory.
West Virginia friends, what's your thoughts about Dogman?
Well, I've heard those stories about the Vietnam soldiers and how they would put them in the tunnels to flush out the Viet Cong. And yeah, I don't think they're just making that up. I mean, that ties in with the government experiment, like what Scott's talking about.
Right.
But I hope I don't encounter that. I'd be more comfortable with the Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I mean, if they want you
that's what
gone,
we've always said too.
Bigfoot, I think, has a lot more patience for our presence. Whereas Dogman's kind of like, hey, you're in my hunting area. That's all I care about. If you cross my path, there's going to be problems. And Bigfoot's just kind of like, look, I kind of want to be left alone today. And they will let you know when it's time to step up the pace on the hike. They will truly let you know. I've never felt threatened out there, but I've been like, okay, maybe somebody's having an off day. Maybe Bigfoot's fighting with his wife today. Who knows what the case may be? And I just felt the need. The knocking would pick up. Leaves would move, and you wouldn't see anything. I'm like, all right, I get it. I'm gone. I'm leaving.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, that I think werewolves and dogmen are definitely different. Werewolves go between people and wolf. Dogman is always dogman. And I do think that it's intelligent, but it's not. It's more animalistic and territorial in what it's doing. It's more like a wolf, and how it behaves with tries to stay mostly out of the way, but is territorial about what it. This is my happy hunting ground, and this is where I'm going to, if I'm in this 2 mile square today and you're in here, then we might have a problem. But I have
Yeah.
100 square mile radius that I patrol. So a lot of times, you're not in my immediate vicinity.
And something like Dogman too, I think, is more anything that's wolf-like is more programmed. They want to eat and survive, and that's it. They want to do their thing. Something like a Bigfoot is more cognitive with the way it thinks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're going to maybe try to de-escalate the situation, whereas a wolf goes from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. So I think that you got more programmed prey, and then you have more like cognitive thinking. So that's why I think Bigfoot is the ultimate hide and seek champion, just because he's got that level of free will and intelligence that something like a wolf or a dogman wouldn't have.
Plus, he can cloak. So
Exactly.
that's a big thing.
He's got that predator type vibe going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that they just have an ability to absorb energy and use that to somehow cloak, like Jennifer said, or maybe transform into an orb. I know that sounds crazy. I think they have a way to avert energy and change energy to become different a little bit, and that's their paranormal / superpower. You look at a lot of animals in this world, like chameleons that can change colors, and all these creatures that can do different things, octopuses that change colors and can do the cloud smoke. And every animal has a different ability. Humans have a different ability. Our ability are our minds, right? That is why we're the superior race, as far as we know here. And
you
Bigfoot.
Wouldn't think about it with a lot of the stuff we're seeing nowadays, though.
No, you wouldn't. Well, here I said here, but maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, people talk about maybe aliens are coming from the earth or whatever, but every creature has its own kind of ability, right? In its own different way. So maybe these creatures have a way of absorbing energy. People always talk about my phone goes dead. My camera went dead. No battery life of anything, just absorbed. So maybe they have a way of drawing some kind of energetic way of transferring that to themselves and using that to transform themselves into a different form.
Like
I
the
know that
same way
sounds
spirits
crazy.
work, like at
Does
a
that sound
haunted
crazy?
location.
I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
I mean that's how ghosts operate. You know, fresh batteries will go dry in a camera at a haunted location because the spirits are using the energy from those devices. And I think that's probably the same way. They're operating on a different vibrational frequency than we are, so they require that to kind of keep on going. Because I'm thinking it's probably a lot harder to kind of be. I think they have a foot in our world and a foot in their own at any given time. So we have to factor that in.
Maybe that's what it takes to go between dimensions, real high energy
True.
source. And that's why it drains the other energy. So,
And as far as the orb thing goes, I mean, you hear about spirits travel in orb form because it takes a lot less energy to travel than it would be to be a full manifestation. Why wouldn't Bigfoot have the same idea? You know, why would I walk this far when I can literally snap my fingers and just freaking teleport there, you know?
Well, they talk about how people find Bigfoot prints in the snow or whatever, and then all of a sudden out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the field, they're just gone.
just stops. Yeah.
Have you guys
That's
heard that
crazy.
before?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Many times.
So unless they're getting zapped up by aliens or something like that, I mean, we can all think that aliens are putting Bigfoot here, to mine or whatever people say they're doing, or maybe they put us here. Maybe it's just a different species that are put down here for some reason, either by aliens or just have been here forever. But they have that ability to, do something different. Now, like I said, there's a lot of creatures out there that have different abilities that we take for granted. We don't think about, like chameleons and stuff like that. There's a lot more examples I can't think of right now.
Octopus. Yeah, octopus can do that. They can cloak and change color.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
octopi
chameleons.
too. They think
Yeah.
octopus are aliens. They're thinking octopus have DNA that is like nowhere present on the Earth or something. So
Yeah,
it's possible that
true.
octopus are
Very
aliens.
unique.
Something I was thinking about the other day, I was watching a video about a guy, and it wasn't the normal one, but a guy was in a fight with a kangaroo in some water. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm on, and then someone was posting a thing, a kangaroo is nothing but a deer that went to prison for like 10 years.
Right.
But you look at these creatures, right? And
They're jacked, man. Professional bodybuilders.
they've got muscle. They're like a man deer, right?
No,
People talk about werewolves or dog man. They're
I know what
deer
video
man.
you're talking about.
I'm going to call it now.
That
I'm going to
kangaroo
say
stepped
kangaroo.
back and
Kangaroo man.
He was muscle.
They're stocked and they can punch and fight, and if you never came across one, if you were never in Australia, heaven forbid, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is a deer man or something. It had a long tail. It just cracks me up that if you know about it, and growing up you see this in pictures, you never go to a zoo and see one. Finally you do, and you're like, oh yeah, but you believe it, because everyone says here's pictures of them, here they're real. It just cracks me up that you think about that, though. I mean, what gave them that? What made them look like that? What made them look more like a? Oh, we lost him. What made that look more like a person with shoulders
Hang on, he's back.
and a
Hang
chest
on.
and all that?
Get him. There he is.
See,
So-
I'm back. Have no fear.
That was just my little John on that, and I'm done.
You watch though, man. Now that we've mentioned, I'm going to say kangaroo man. Watch the sightings start pouring in.
Maybe we'll see.
You
We'll
never
see if
know. We have that not deer episode, so we bring on the deer man.
That's a strange one. I don't know if you guys have heard those. There's a couple of them out there, but anyway.
Well, like the Wendigo, like a Wendigo type tale.
No. Just a big overgrown deer that looked more like a, I don't know, just
Check it out. I don't know. I don't remember the number of the episode,
Yeah.
but it's
Damn, now I got another rabbit hole I'm going to be stuck in.
Yeah. Well, if you're not listening to our show, you should start.
Yeah,
Right?
if you're not listening to this
Absolutely.
show, then we got all kinds of rabbit holes for you. So
I'm in, man. I'm
Right.
sold.
Jennifer, Dave, you guys any more questions for Scott before we wrap this up?
I don't have any other questions. I want to thank you, Scott, for your time tonight, and I definitely want to check out the Urban Squatch, Facebook group there and look at those. So
Yes, sir.
Yep, it was
Absolutely. Please
Urban
do.
Bigfoot. So I'm
Yep,
looking
Urban
forward to-
Bigfoot on Facebook. You're right.
Yep, right on
Urban
Facebook,
Bigfoot.
Urban Bigfoot. Just go ahead and share it. You know, anybody else that wants to.
So
I
everybody
don't have.
listening can check that out too.
Yep, check it out.
Definitely.
Grow my page. Thank you.
Right on. We will. All right,
Wow.
Scott, we appreciate you being here. Jennifer, Dave, you guys hang out with us for a little bit. Scott, again, thank you for
Scott,
being
thanks
here
for
tonight,
sharing your
brother.
story.
Absolutely,
let
man.
us
I appreciate
know.
the opportunity.
Yeah, let us know when you get out there and you know what's going on. Let us know when you find some more evidence.
Will do. I'll keep you posted.
Right on.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
take care,
Appreciate
All
brother.
right,
the
Scott. Thanks. We
opportunity.
appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right, I just want to say this real quick, and we'll go into something. Jennifer, Dave, we want to thank you guys for being here with us tonight, being co-hosts with us too, and talking to our guest. You guys did a great job.
Well,
I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed it,
You did.
and we'll have to bring you on again sometime.
We didn't have to
down the
hardly
road
talk
soon.
at all.
Yeah, well, that's what we like.
Yeah.
I just hit record and just sit back because I
Sit back
talk
and
too much
listen.
anyway. But anyway,
Well,
thank
this
you guys
was really
again.
great, and it's you know, part of the reason why on Patreon we went to the level we did, so that we would be able to have these opportunities.
Yeah, we appreciate it very much.
We
Thank
wondered
you.
how it would go. You know, we wanted to give people that. You know, we always would want to do that. You know, too.
Yeah.
So, you know, down the road we'll bring you guys back on.
Yeah,
for
down the
another
road
show.
we'll bring you back for another
Yeah.
Okay.
another
I-
guest
I-
host.